Hey, this is something a little different for Find Your Film. I am launching an idea that I like to call Flash Pod, based on the old man idea of flash mobs, if you remember those crazy old things. I had this idea that if every so often, if I'm just sitting around, and it could be Greg and Eric if they hop on board, but I'm just sitting around and I'm like, I want to talk about a movie. And I'll just throw something out to the internet and say, who's got a movie they just really want to talk about right now? And whoever answers back first and answers back with a movie that I've at least seen at one point in my life, we'll hop on together and we will talk about it for 15 minutes. This is Pete Abeyta from Middle Class
Hello.
Film Class. And I haven't told him all these little rules, but these rules are going to kind of be bent on this one because this is kind of a special circumstance, which we will get into in a minute. So usually my requirements would be I send it out. It's like a fishing line. I send it out. Someone says, yes, I'm going to bite. Let's do this. I send out a Zoom link and no coaching, no notes. We just talk. And spoilers are allowed.
All right.
Spoilers are allowed. And once I set the timer, we do it, talk about it until its timer's done, and then we are done. But Pete Abeyta from Middle Class Film Class, first I'll have you introduce yourself and then tell me and the listeners what is a little special about your weekend happening, currently in progress.
Yes, I've dubbed this. So I took Thursday and Friday off of work. I work a lot and I don't really ever take time off, and I have so much PTO or pay time off at work that if I don't use it, I'm losing it. So I took Thursday, Friday off just for fun, and I thought, what better thing to do than to watch some really depressing movies that have been on my watch list for a long time and I've never seen. So I've dubbed it Depress Fest 1.0, and maybe next year I'll do Depress Fest 2.0, because I reached out to the internet through Cinematics and through my Twitter page and asked everybody, here's the movies I'm watching. I got 3 really rough ones that I already know about, and what's another one I can watch? And the response was baffling. So I watched 3 really hard to watch movies, and I'm about to watch a 4th one. If you're looking in the background right now at my movie, it's queued up with what is this? I don't even know what this movie is. I can't remember. There was so many I went back and forth on. It's the one where the 2 girls visit their family or something.
Oh, you're gonna watch Haute Tension.
Yeah. High tension. Yeah,
and you're watching the original French version.
Yeah, it's queued up right now.
Okay.
I paused it to get dinner and eat some pizza and talk to you. So
tell us what you've watched
one day
so far, and then we're going to pick one of those 3, and I'll set the timer.
Oh, just one. Okay. The 3 movies I watched today were Inside, Martyrs, and Irreversible.
Good Lord.
And of the 3, I like Martyrs the best. Inside was probably the most ridiculous, over the top, and Irreversible was probably the most impressive. So all 3 of them I gleaned a little bit of something from. So do you have a preference?
No, it's your choice. I've seen them all, so I know which one's freshest for me, but it doesn't matter.
I'd say let's talk about Martyrs, because I feel like most people have heard the infamous Martyrs movie. And I don't think that enough people have pulled the Band-Aid off to actually sit there and actually watch it. And it was much, much better of a movie as a whole than I expected.
Okay, so we will start the timer now. 15 minutes is running, and I will let you start with your, and I know, so first of all, Middle Class Film Class, if you haven't heard it, go out and find it. You can find it in all your podcatchers, all over the place.
Easy to find, fun show.
Yeah, and generally they do 2 podcasts a week. The first podcast is kind of just news and talking about streaming picks they've been doing. And the second podcast is a particular movie they picked for that week to talk about both their basic overall impressions and then the spoilers. So in light of that format, why don't you start with your first impressions of Martyrs? This is the French version, first of all, the original version from the mid-2000s, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, this is a 2008 movie. It's written and directed by Pascal Laugier. I think that I'm saying that right. And this is kind of widely regarded as one of the holy grail movies of difficult to watch movies. It's Solo it's Irreversible, it's Martyrs, Antichrist, and I've heard a lot about Martyrs over the years, and I've seen short snippets on movie lists, most depressing movies, most hard to watch scenes, all the worst of the worst lists that you'll find online. I've heard of it many times. I've heard him talk. Anderson's talked about it on the Film Vault, and I finally pulled the Band-Aid off. And for the first 30 minutes, I was thinking, this is like a straight ahead, like I don't know, like almost like a study on trauma.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is, I don't know why is everybody, I mean, it's some rough stuff in here, but I wasn't expecting the maybe supernatural sort of elements that come with one of the characters, Lucy. And I really enjoyed it. And I was thinking, this is really good. I just got done watching Inside, which is just way over the top with the blood and
Right.
literally pouring down the steps at one point in the movie. And I was thinking, this is impressive. This is very good. And then it takes a turn, and it turned into what I had heard, which was like the torture porn, and one person being physically abused nonstop with no dialogue for like 25 minutes of runtime.
Yep.
And then it gets into the flaying and the basically removal of 95% of the skin on a person's body, and you see like the reasoning behind the people that are doing this to the people. And I didn't think there was going to be some grand scheme. I thought it was just a fetishist or some sort of psychopath doing to these young girls. So I was hot on it, and then I got really cold on it, and then I got hot on it again near the end. And the ending was, I was thinking I had to stop like when I turned it off and the movie ended. And I thought, what does this mean?
Oh, yes. Definitely one of the most talked about endings ever. First of all, I would say you don't pull the Band-Aid off this movie. What you do is you unscrew the bolts in your head and you peel off the metal visor and watch the movie. I think
And the
that's how you do
putrid
it.
scalp comes with it.
That's right. Exactly. That's how you do this. So did you have any clue, first of all, this movie has probably one of the hardest twists of any movie I've seen, where you go from thinking like it's kind of this, like you said, trauma survivor, home invasion, revenge, whatever it is,
Yeah.
haunted by this killer spirit or something. And that's like the first, 45 minutes of the movie. And you're like, okay. But did you have any clue of how it would turn? Or was that
No.
straight up new to you?
No, everything was fresh. I didn't even know the plot at all. I just know it was a hard to watch movie, and it's worth watching according to people who've seen it. There was a number of people on the Cinematics page that told me not to watch it. They said,
Yeah.
"We're looking out for your best interest, so don't do it." And I said, "Check, acknowledged."
Right.
Read
And
the
this,
message.
I don't know if you'd agree with this, but this is one of those movies, kind of like you talked about it, where when you get to the second half and it becomes torture, like literal torture for a person you've been at least somewhat rooting for, or at least you don't want to see this happen to this person. It's one of those moments where it's like, oh, I want them to get, oh, now they're totally not going to get away. And then did you feel like this movie isn't going to earn my time that I'm spending with it? There's no way that
Yeah,
it's
I
going
did.
to, there's no way that it's going to get to the end and I'm going to be like, oh, well, that was worth it. But somehow for a lot of people that do stick it out, it does earn it. Did you feel like it earned it?
That's you nailed it, because I was literally thinking the same thing when I'm watching it. I'm like, this, if they just throw all that great first act away with literal torture porn for the rest of this movie, I was like, why am I here? What am I doing? And what's the point of this? And who's the real antagonist? But the way that the film is set up is, and I'll go into full spoilers. What's our time right now, Bruce?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'll make it fast then. So the way
Since I don't know, this is an experiment, so I don't know how this is going to affect people's experience.
if you listen to our show, I can be famously long-winded. So I'm going to try to make it concise. But for the first half, maybe just the first act, the main character that you're following, I think her name is Anna. She is the grounded version of the character. The audience is attached to this character. and you're not sure if the Lacey, the one who kills the family at the beginning, is in the right. You don't know if she's even killed the right people or not. So
Right.
she and Anna is looking at them like, oh fuck, there's one person who's alive. I'm gonna kind of give her a little bit of a push out the door, and maybe she can save herself, because she's not convinced that Lacey made the right decision. And then she finds out that she 100% unabsolvedly made the right decision, and to kill this, at least the parents. So you're now rooting for this character, and you're attached to the character because you've went through all the same emotions that she has. And then when she's the subject of the torture, you feel like you're being tortured.
Right.
So it was beautifully written in that sense. And then once it gets through the bulk of the torture, and you're told what the point of it is, and the idea is essentially that you're going to see God or see the afterlife, or
Right.
make some sort of connection between our world and the next world. You see all that. It's laid out to you before the torture happens, and the cost is the torture of this innocent, right?
Right.
She's the martyr.
So let's get to the crux of it now. Let's get
Yeah.
to the ending, because that's the thing we want to discuss, like what the heck it means. And that is probably, other than the torturous nature of just the experience of watching this movie, probably the other most notable thing is people discuss the ending. So the idea is there's this group or cult or coven or whatever you want to call them. This group of people, and I had the main woman. I can't remember what her name is in this, the Duchess or something.
They just called her Mademoiselle.
Mademoiselle, yes. It's been a while since I saw this. And she, basically the idea is that if you get someone to the point, they have all these pictures of real tortures and people that have been like tortured.
Historical torture.
Yeah, which is horrifying as well. That if you get person right to the edge of death, where they're basically suspended in that moment between life and death, they get to a moment of martyrdom where they're like an exalted state. They're like in touch with the divine, I guess. Apparently their goal is to get someone in that state and to find out what the truth about God, or the truth about the afterlife, or what comes in the next world. That's kind of the idea, right?
Yeah.
And they get
They get her to that point,
right,
through weeks of abuse, and she finally gives up. And I've never rooted for a character to kill themselves so much that I was like, as soon as she gets chained up, I'm like, just wrap the chain around your head, just jump off the chair, just kill yourself. You know what's going to happen. Just do it. I've never wanted a character to kill themselves more than in that moment when she finally gets in there and she's in the room with the chair with the hole in it.
right.
And they get her there, and the Mademoiselle is called to the house, saying that she's achieved martyrdom and she's reached the other side, and she spends a little over 2 hours in that state, according to the man who speaks after that. And Mademoiselle gets whispered into her ear what Anna has seen, what she experienced of the afterlife, and she's getting ready to. The next cut is to all these oligarchs, these rich fucks that are going to come. They're showing up in their Rolls Royces and their Bentleys to this house in the middle of nowhere to hear the experience of this woman who's been in touch with the other side. And the ending is, if you don't want to hear it, turn it off now. But the ending,
Too late. You've already heard so much. But go ahead.
No,
Yes.
the ending is that the Mademoiselle, right before she comes out to tell everybody what she's heard from this martyr,
And they're all waiting downstairs for her to make
Yeah.
her entrance and basically proclaim what she's found out, right?
yeah, I think she's basically going to ascend down the staircase and give this speech of what Anna has told to her of she's seen at the other side. And she asks her assistant, if today, do you know if God exists or not? And he goes, well, I think he does. Do you know about the afterlife? Well, I'm not sure what it is. And she says, okay, well, keep wondering, or keep being skeptical, or something like that. And she pulls out a revolver and blows her head off. So the only two people that have seen this is Anna, who is down in the basement being currently flayed
Right.
on the edge of death, assumingly going to be dead any second, and the Mademoiselle, who has now got her brains painted all over the bathroom wall. So, and that's it. That's the end of it. So,
And then the question always becomes like, so what did she find out? Did she, or what would you say? I mean, this is obviously a kind of a Rorschach test of an ending, right? Like,
well,
you
I
can
want
project.
to know what you think about what she saw, because you get this weird Alex Garland End of Annihilation vision in her head. Granted, it's a 2008 version, so
Right.
it's not great. It's just a kind of weird light array, and you see some sort of wiggle that the woman sees, but that's it. So what do you think she said? Because I have an idea of what this all means.
The ending I like is the ending I like is that she finds out that there's nothing after you
Okay.
die. And the reason I like that is because she has to basically come to face with the idea that they've been not on even the smallest amount of a noble quest. They're actually evil fucks that have been torturing people for no reason.
I like
And when when she finds that out, she actually has to look at herself in the eyes and go like, actually identify her own deep, seething evil, and that's
Yeah.
when she kills herself. Now the other concept is that that's what I like prefer to believe in. The other one could be this: she does know what it is, but because she's an evil fuck, she thinks she's so special that she gets to keep it just for herself.
Oh, I never thought about that version. Oh, that's interesting. I thought either the first what you said first, that there's nothing there, and she accepted the fact that the last 2 or more decades of literal torture she's had amongst countless blameless lambs has been for nothing, and she really is the villain, even though she's convinced herself this whole time that she's doing it for a righteous cause. I explored that option. I also explored the option that there was something worse on the other side,
Right.
almost like Event Horizon. You get a peek into the side and it's just hell, and you're like, well, maybe that's a bad interpretation, because why would she be so eager to go there?
Yes.
To put a bullet in her head. So I don't know what the vision is, but I think that the overarching parallel that you can make with all the world that we live in right now is that rich assholes are willing to put the suffering, potentially endless suffering of the rest of us, on the line and allow us to live through that suffering and that torture, just in the tiny inkling that there's a possibility that they could have some sort of gain from it.
Exactly.
They don't even know if there's going to be this connection to the other world, but they're going off of this blind faith or this bullshit reasoning that the Mademoiselle has given to everybody, and that's enough for them. They're okay with torturing who knows how many people, and take that and extrapolate it to millions of people living in poverty, while Jeff Bezos can fly to the moon and back 10 times without even blinking.
Right, and then the last thing is, and this is where you get in kind of the French extremity kind of movie, and the sort of the real nihilism is the whole meta aspect of it as well, right? So like Funny Games or something. Whereas like, what are the filmmakers doing by putting us through the torture that is the movie to get to the end, to not give us the actual answer? And what is that saying about the viewer? You know?
That's funny. I never thought about that either.
So
Damn it.
it's a pretty interesting movie for sure, if you can stomach it, which is a pretty big if.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna read this is my review from Martyrs on Letterboxd. Follow me at I don't know what my name is. Somewhere. Find
It's
me on there.
Pete.
Yeah, it's Pete. It's a shame I can't really recommend this movie to anyone except those who already want to see it or already have. Everything you heard about the brutality is true, but I was not expecting for it to be so impactful and spectacularly produced, because the practical effects are really good. I'm sure there's much to the underlying meaning that missed me. Something about how the rich will gladly and emotionlessly allow countless hopeless souls to suffer endlessly, so long as it helps them get something for themselves. But who really knows? That's my review. 4.5 stars.
And the alarm just went off. So look at that. Look at you. You almost hit the post perfectly.
Look at ye.
So we're about to get out of here. Last little thing, since you did mention Inside, I have my Malignant poster behind me. How much is it absolutely obvious that certain parts of Malignant were influenced by Inside?
I felt more Titan than Malignant.
Well, that too. Well, it's
yeah.
like Titan. I mean,
Titan.
what's her name? I forget.
Julia Ducournau.
Yeah, she's definitely considered like the kind of the flag bearer, the standard bearer, like moving forward with her version of the new
French
version of
extremism.
that. Yeah.
The whole time I was like, there's no way that Julia Ducournau hasn't seen this movie 10 times.
Oh yeah.
As I was watching it, but I didn't make the connection with *Malignant*. But just after you said that, I'm gonna think about that after we get off this.
Just the
Zoom
way
call.
she looks and how she's dressed and the scissors and the poster itself. Look at that poster, and then you go look at the poster. One of the posters of it is the two faces, and the one looking down with the scissors. It's like it's a total takeoff. Anyway,
I think the antagonist of that movie quickly went to the top of my cinematic psychopath list.
yes.
She played that just right.
All right. Well, very cool. Thanks for being on the sort of inaugural version of this. It was a little more planned out, but still kind of gets the flavor of it. Tell people where to reach you or to hear what you're doing out there, and hopefully they'll come check it out.
Sure. Middle Class Film Class is on all pod streaming services. Wherever you can find your film, you'll find Middle Class Film Class. It's twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays. Mondays is news and recommendations called Gab and Chatter. And then Wednesdays is one deep dive review. And we are really, really heavy on listener interaction. So if you want us to review a movie or you have good or bad feedback, you send us an email. We give all that information on the show. It's a good time. It's funny, and it's recorded live to tape like a radio show. So we leave all the rough stuff in.
And I am part of the Find Your Film podcast with Greg and Eric. And if you're here, you probably see how to get to that. Also, once a month, we do half of Cinematics, myself and Greg and Eric. And we just recorded both of those, and they'll be out probably tomorrow.
Good times.
Thanks
for having me on,
again,
bros.
Pete. That was very fun.
Yeah, good times.